struggle to keep your privacy and, above all, to defend your principles.
It was a very frantic life for religious people there. I couldn't work anymore as a teacher. I had to drop out of medical school because I had to sign a paper giving up to my religious convictions. Everything was rationed and everything had to be guarded because of being afraid of what the government could do to us, religious people.
I was born in 1970 in the city of Santa Clara, which is in the central part of the island of Cuba.
Jamie was very hard to go to sleep, to make him go to sleep. So I had to rock him in a rocking chair and sing hymns to him, and he learned all of them. I came up with a new one, and he immediately learned, and the next day I had to change and sing another one. Otherwise, he wouldn't fall asleep because he was singing with me. At the age of 3, I got him a toy saxophone with 7 keys.
I started playing with that little sax and began to pick out some of the simple church tunes.
And soon after that, his mother, which is a very talented and accomplished musician, identified the talent that he had. She said, well, this boy needs to start the formal musical education. And about 4.5 years old, he started studying the violin.
She says that I chose the violin. I don't remember having that choice. I wanted to be an athlete, a professional athlete in some kind of sport. She started taking me to violin lessons. She was always very firm. She said, God gave you a talent, and I have the responsibility of helping you to develop that talent.
It was just an everyday occurrence for us. When we had family worship at night, all 3 of us would grab an instrument and we would sing and also play hymns. That's the way we grew up, in a very musically centric home.
Growing up, I think my parents shielded my sister and me from most of the challenges and the repercussions of being Christians and being singled out and being harassed and being left out.
They were trying to impose their thinking and their views upon the children because they know that the minds of the children are easier to handle and to program.
When we were about to leave in 1980, they began to do these horrible, they called them acts of repudiation. Once they found out your family was leaving, on one night they would all come like in a mob and bang at your door, throw things, and if you were unfortunate enough to go out, they would drag you, they would beat you up, and some people got killed that way because they were being anti-patriots by wanting to leave the country. It was a very tumultuous and uncertain time for my family and for a lot of people.
Well, when I was about 10 years old, I started reading the Reader's Digest, and I fell in love with the United States. And I started dreaming about sometime coming into this country.
He always realized and figured out that there was going to be no future for the family there, being Christians.
We registered ourselves as religious people, which were pretty much unwanted by the regime. They went to our house and they asked us if we wanted to leave, and we left only with the clothes we were wearing.
We waited in an army base camp for 3 months to leave. It was supposed to take 3 days. Fidel Castro was sending thousands of criminals in the place of the family members that were supposed to leave. And so the U.S. government stopped everything. Well, now we had left our homes. We had nothing to go back to. And so we spent 3 months in these tent cities with hundreds of other people there, and everybody slept in bunk beds. So you have 300 or 500 people in a tent city, no privacy. And for 3 months they'd been telling us, maybe tomorrow, maybe tomorrow. So I don't think anybody really believed it.
We have no towels, no sheets on the bunk beds. It was very difficult.
Then came the day when they told us that we were leaving. They started loading us into buses and vans. And we got on these airplanes, took off, and in 45 minutes we were in Miami. It was just a totally different world. The best way that I can describe it, it's like going from black and white television to color. And in 1981, 2 months after arriving, we flew to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I think it was one of the best things that my family did. People were nice to you, people were kind, people were helpful. They started bringing us things, leaving things at our doorstep, food and clothing and blankets. Somebody gave us a record of David Oistra, who was one of the greatest violinists of all time, in my opinion, playing the Beethoven Violin Concerto. My parents went to an organization called Music for Youth, and they rented a violin for like 10 or 15 bucks a month. But we didn't have any more money for anything else. Not a teacher, not sheet music, any of that stuff. But my mother said, you got to start practicing. I said, well, what do you want me to do? I don't have any music, I don't have a teacher. She said, well, you have that record of the Beethoven Violin Concerto, so start learning it. So I would, stand or sit there by the record player. And play along with David Oistra. And so I learned the first movement of the Beethoven Violin Concerto that way. So they took me and my sister to the Wisconsin Conservatory of Music in Milwaukee. They had some kind of a scholarship, and so we auditioned for that scholarship. And so I went into my audition, 10 years old, and I played the only thing I could, had ready, which was the first movement of the Beethoven Violin Concerto. So this gentleman tried to ask me some questions. He said, how did you decide to play this violin concerto? This is not the kind of repertoire that a 10-year-old would play. And so I tried to explain to him, well, this is all I have. And he said, who is the violinist on that record? And so I said, David Oistra. And he said to me, that's my violin teacher. And he recognized his playing in my interpretation. And that was unbelievable because he took me on the spot. And I think that just had to be providential, that God allowed that to happen. The defining moment for me was when I was 18 years old. I was a freshman at Loyola University of Chicago, and I played in a talent show. Loyola was a big school, and so I thought this is going to be my opportunity, And then I get there, and to my horror, the music was like all rock and roll, And I immediately started thinking, okay, what's going to be like when I get up here and I start playing classical music? So I went up to the gentleman that had invited me, and I said, look, I don't think this is going to work out. I don't want to play. But he said, don't worry about it. This is a celebration of music and talent, not necessarily the kind of music. It just so happens that a lot of these young people, this is the kind of music they've chosen to play or sing. And I went up on that stage, and I went out there, and I just thought, this is going to be the end of me. And I started playing, and I didn't know if this was good or bad because I had my eyes closed, I just kept on playing, and these kids started to quiet down. And when I finished, that place just came alive. They yelled and they screamed. And when I went home that night, I thought, wow, music is one of the most powerful mediums and forces in the universe. And I have this gift. I want to use this gift. And so everything changed for me after that night. I can't imagine really that I would find myself 25 years later in this place. I feel very blessed. Certainly the performances in places like Carnegie Hall the Lincoln Center, the Crystal Cathedral, playing for certain government officials at important functions, that kind of thing. You know, I won't lie to you, those are very rewarding.
I love his violin playing, it's beautiful. I love his heart. Add the component of faith, and the reason why he's here is to take that sad story or the sad beginnings and show this redemptive thing through Christ and passing it on to people through his music.
I want to talk about Jesus because he is why I'm here. He is why I've been doing this for 25 years. He is why I get up every day and I do the concerts. It's not for the money. It's not for the recognition. It's about seeing the hearts of people being transformed and changed and realizing that the greatest joy that we can ever have on this earth is to serve the Lord and to work for him. And when I went to choose the musicians, I wanted to get people that would be mindful of that. I didn't want to just get great performers. I wanted people who also love the Lord and play for the Lord.
My faith in my music is basically simple. If God gave you a talent, use it.
He's always been there for me in the hard times and the great times.
My faith in God impacts me greatly in my music. I always feel like that there's something that I should be sharing through my music about my faith.
I am a minister of the gospel, but not in a sort of traditional or conventional sense, that God is using and has used my music.
My faith and my music have been linked ever since I was 3 years old.
I just enjoy being able to do something and worship the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords in that way.
I once had a friend of mine that I'm very close to, and he's a pianist. And he said, I play because I have something to say, and I think people need to hear it. Preachers use the platform of their pulpit. For us, music is how you touch people. And I would dare say that nothing touches the heart like music does.
Jamie is such an amazing artist, but he's an even better person. You know, he's so humble and so gifted. And that, I think, just comes through in his music and his ministry.
I actually started working with Jamie about 2 years ago. There was a project that him and John started working on, his musical director. He asked me to master the project, and I heard Jamie's music through mastering. I said, man, this guy is great. So I started talking to John about him. He's like, yeah, man, he's very, very well known, and you know, he travels around, he ministers. It's amazing to actually see him as a person. He really exudes Christ. He's a very inspirational person to be around, and he's very fluent on his instrument. It makes me want to grow and challenge me to be a better musician as well.
I've been working with Jamie I stopped counting the years, but I still remember the first time I heard him play. One of the things that moves me most about working with him is he has this wonderful passion.
The level of musicianship that he's had work with him on this project has really been first rate. It makes my job much easier.
I love music, period, and I especially respect musicians who take the time to really perfect their craft. I definitely respect that, and the man he's a major talent.
I enjoy playing the violin because I feel like I can say something so succinctly, so intensely, so focused that I don't have to say another word.
Jamie's music is the absolute best, and I love it because when I'm having a sad moment or a happy moment or I need to feel peaceful, I put his album on all the time.
They've just got a great lineup. I can't wait until the door opens so I can get a good seat.
As we thought about putting this together and planned it, and it's still a dream come true, you know, this whole event.
Probably the hardest thing to do was to try to decide on songs. I mean, he's been making records for over 25 years, and so there's a lot of music to choose from.
John
really tweaked this list that I sent him, and he was very kind. There were some songs like, yeah, I don't think so.
I thought it might be kind of cool to start from where we are now. And A Mighty Fortress is, I think, the first song on the last CD that Jamie and I did together. So we said, we'll start from where we are now and sort of work our way from there.
I thought it's a great idea. Of course, I had no idea what it was going to be like, because on the record, we have all of this music, but we didn't have live instruments. We didn't have the choir. These artists, this music, I'm having a hard time with some of the songs right now because I get emotional when I hear them. I can't finish playing them.
It's Sunday afternoon. The choir, the orchestra, the band is in place. We are so excited.
We added some new elements that weren't on the original recording, and we got some amazing live musicians. We've got a wonderful choir on it. 1, 2, 3, right?
We didn't have the Aeolians come in until the last rehearsal Sunday afternoon. So we'd been going through this thing, including at the dress rehearsal, without them. All of a sudden they come in and they start singing these phrases, and the song took on a new energy. And it wasn't like there wasn't enough energy to begin with, but it just opened.
I think it's going to be an amazing way to begin this concert. I'm really looking forward to it.
Let's go.
We're on our way to the stage.
We're just seconds away from starting our concert this evening. We can't wait.
when I look back on the last 25 years, it's been an impossible dream. In part because my family came from another country.
That particular song brought special impressions to my mind, in which crystallized everything that we had been going after.
We always tried to leave Cuba, and it was very complicated.
Every time seemed to be far-fetched, impossible to make it true. So when, by God's grace, we finally came into the country and we started working hard to go into the direction we really wanted to go. And finally, at this point, which is for the entire family, it's a culmination of the entire Christian musical career for Jamie and for us. Everything has come true. It was especially touchy to us.
I am living the impossible dream. We've had now a couple of big songs that we're going to share. The Mighty Fortress, Impossible Dream, and at some point you have to have a...
This gave us an opportunity in this concert, even with all the excitement in the concert, to take especially one moment where we say, you know what, this is what this is really all about.
We've chosen to put Turn Your Eyes Upon Jesus.
This is a song that I've listened to on my own of your recording, and it's brought me to tears. I've been working with Jamie a little while now. He has this wonderful passion, and I wanted to find a way to highlight that without any other distractions.
That hymn is perfect because it, first of all, brings into focus what we're doing and why we're there. It's really about Jesus Christ. He is our mighty fortress. If we dream big and we do what God has in mind for us, we can accomplish great things for Him, not for ourselves. And so it's a moment of pause, I think. It's a moment of reflection that we want to have at that point in the concert.
On the song In the Sweet By and By, I had this crazy idea because we did this sort of Latin thing with Jaime on the actual recording of the record. So I said, oh, that would be a really fun song to do live, and we could add percussion and so on. I said, oh, I have this idea. I said, I'm going to call my friend Kirk Whalen, who's world famous, world renowned jazz saxophonist. And so Jamie, being a big fan of Kirk, said, oh man, do you think he will do it? I said, of course he'll do it. And the first time they played together, it was like instant. You know, the bond was there. They were both on the same page musically.
The moment that I was moved to tears was in the Sweet By and By with when Kirk came in. He just nailed that song. He had the right feel for it. He would graciously sort of say, okay, what are you going to do? And so what happens is you start a conversation. And I thought, you know, that's what we had going on.
I was really intrigued to be a part of Jamie's celebration. First of all, because I'm studying Spanish, estoy aprendiendo español, and Jamie is a guy who speaks a couple of 3 languages, especially the language of music. That instrument allows us to communicate the love of God on a level that's so direct to the hearts of people. And so that's the thing that really intrigued me about him. It's something that we have in common. Jamie has really made quite a name for himself traveling around speaking the language of music.
Pastor. Mr. Kirk Whalum.
Adoration was a song that I told John I wanted to put into the concert.
That song he started to play when he was very, very young, and he played in many churches, different places.
When we got a chance to get on stage and start running through the song, and I listened to the melody and just what happens in those moments as classical musicians where it's just you and a soloist and you get to create and reinterpret.
It builds in a marvelous way till you get to the very last sort of chorus, and you'll hear the keyboard coming in, and
it's just an amazing tribute to music that can last and endure and stand the test of time.
You feel the sense of adoration and worship, which is really what we're looking after.
Jamie and I are 3 years apart. He was born October 21st, and I came October 31st, 3 years later.
Being male and female and being 3 years apart, I think we just function in different worlds. And we fought a lot.
He would antagonize me, and he would pinch me, and he would do it when nobody was looking. But then when anybody bothered me at school, he would get on them, and he would always defend me no matter what. Jamie started violin at the age of 5. Right around the time when I was turning 5 or 6, we were transitioning into the United States. So my mom didn't start lessons for me right away. In the meantime, Jamie and I would sing together. My mom would have us sing duets at every event that could be possible. My mom was a pianist. I also took on the flute, and then we would do flute, violin, and piano trios. I'm really excited about performing this song. My mom wrote it many, many years ago, and this is the first time that we are going to perform this song together.
He did a great job interpreting my feelings and the feeling of the song, which refers to Psalm 51, when David asked God for a new heart.
It is arranged beautifully. There's a gorgeous violin part and a gorgeous flute part, and when it comes together, it just transports you to a different heavenly place.
When we thought of artists that had influenced Jamie that we wanted to invite to be part of this concert, one of the names that was way at the top of the list was Larnell Harris.
I met Larnell Harris in 1998. I had heard, his performances, never seen him live. But that day, not only did I get to see him live, I got to be a part of the concert. Then he sang this song.
Were it not for grace, I can tell you where I'd be, wandering down some pointless road to nowhere with my salvation.
So many incredible songs that he's recorded. Which one do you pick?
We wanted to come up with a song, that he would feel comfortable with, that he knew. And then John suggested, were it not for grace. And then I remembered what had happened in 1998 at that concert. And I thought, John, you have no idea how meaningful this is to me.
So I put together this very almost Beethoven-ish sounding arrangement that morphs into something that you would maybe find very familiar in Larnell's music as we begin to add elements of the orchestra.
To hear this beautiful melody and these words reminding us, if it's not for God's grace, we don't have any hope.
Time measured out my days. Life just carried me along. Why in my soul I yearned to follow God, but knew I'd never be that strong. So I looked hard at this world to see how heaven could be gained, just to end where I began, where all human effort was all in vain. Were it not for grace, I can tell you where I'd be, wandering down some pointless road to nowhere, with my salvation up to me. And I know how that would go. All those battles that I'd face, forever running but losing the race, were it not for grace. So here is all my praise. I give with all my heart. It's offered to this friend who took my place and ran a course that I couldn't even start. And when he saw in full how much this love would cost, he still went the final mile between me and heaven, so that all would not be lost. Were it not for grace, I can tell you where I'd be, wandering down some pointless road to nowhere, those battles the night fade. Forever running, but losing the race, were it not for grace. Yes, forever running, but losing the race, were it not for grace. Were it not for grace. God's grace.
I knew what was coming with Blessed Assurance because I had heard the arrangement, and it is a gospel slash, funky kind of a feel to it.
When we originally recorded the song, it was just piano, Hammond organ, and violin. But I said, Jamie, we gotta step it up for the concert, man.
He just went all out.
I think the approaches that they take on some of the hymns and is refreshing to hear.
When I was arranging it, I knew in my mind what I wanted to do, so I called him because I didn't know if he would go for it. I said, Jamie, I said, I have this idea, man, of doing the song, but we're gonna have like this blues distorted guitar at the top. And he was so excited.
The entrance to Blessed Assurance just completely blew me away. I mean, for me, it was like, wow, this is really cool. This is great.
Practicing it, I could just barely, stand being there without jumping.
The audience is going to really, really, really go crazy over it. I think this is one of my favorites.
It is that powerful. It is that exciting. It is that moving with all of the different things going on.
We consider nutrition, mind, body, spirituality, and music that accompany spirituality to be as important as chemotherapy, radiation, or surgery. So it is an important part of treatment at Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and we're pleased to be able to be a part of it and to be a sponsor for the concert tonight.
My story is my husband was diagnosed with kidney cancer and lung cancer 5 years ago. We went through treatment and it reappeared.
I had already been confirmed to go back to Jacksonville for surgery. We found cancer in the liver once again.
Many people come here and they are frightened. Obviously, they have received a diagnosis that is life-altering.
On October 19th, we went to the doctor. She did a CAT scan, and she wanted to do a biopsy. 3 days later, we were told, you're in stage 4 lung cancer. There's nothing I can do.
My journey started sometime back, 2006-07, colon cancer, 2009-10, liver cancer. I come here because of an answered prayer through 3 individuals that told me about CTCA. I started just praying and saying, Lord, if that's where you want me, please open that door. The door was opened.
I've been an infusion nurse for about 8 years now. My passion is oncology. My love and heart is for the patients. Ever since my dad was diagnosed when he was 47 with colon cancer, I knew I was going to be a nurse, and when he was diagnosed, that led me into what type of nurse I wanted to be.
At CTCA, we want our patients to understand that their faith can play a huge role in their recovery. We don't just focus on healing their bodies, which we do, but also their mind and their spirit.
We walked into the foyer, and then my husband was in a wheelchair. He rolled himself inside, and he turned around. He said, come here, Joanne. This is it. He said, this is the place. I can feel it.
When I showed up here, I did my 3-day tour, got to see the different people that are going to be involved in what's called my team. And so finding out that's encouraging. It's not just a doctor that's going to come in and speak to you for 5 minutes. The doctors and the nurses here, they talk for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, with a smile on their face, and they're answering your questions.
Cancer is, for a lot of patients, a real spiritual crisis, not just a physical one. And a lot of them do come here looking for spiritual support in addition to medical support. It's been gratifying to be able to kneel down with them and pray with them.
Here it's so different. Before we were going to a center and they just told us that, Stan would take chemo until that was the end. But with Cancer Treatment Centers of America, we just feel like family.
Lymph node, liver, lung. 2 of them have already been killed by a doctor here, Dr. Neil Patel. What can I say about the man? He's amazing, he's fun. He calls me on the cell phone. He talks to me, he sends me an email to check on me. I send an email back and he responds. Never had a doctor to do that before.
It's our hands that are honored and humbled to be able to do this job, but it is God's hand that is able to direct us in doing that. So he works through our hands, it's not us.
This is a God-sent place for us.
Here's the bottom line. People don't get cancer, families get cancer. People don't get cancer, churches, synagogues get cancer. And this is a wonderful opportunity for us to come in and say, we want to help, we want to bring hope.
What does a person look like that's got cancer? I just want to say I'm a patient. I am 376, a patient here at CTCA.
We are so blessed and so privileged, and I'm humbled every day to be able to do and care for people.
This place has made me know that God lives, and he lives in people.
CTCA is more than I ever thought it could be.
And that's our story.
come to the country to appreciate and to live into the environment that was created with so much sacrifice and love.